Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Professor Jos Palakal, who is from Kerala, and I really want to welcome him in today's learning encounter. And it's very interesting topics about the curated self and real self in the digital age. And it's our honor to welcome him here, and also to get benefited with all the times, resources, and regarding the narratives between the curated self and real self. And I'm sure every fellows has been visiting his profiles also, and about his all the resources, articles, and writings. Living in the age of social media and with the bombardment of all the fake news, how one can explore, examine, and evolve, one's real or authentic self. Is it really possible? Can we achieve that? And also, while also at the other sides, we are enjoying the benefits of this technology assisted communications, so which gives us very multiple identities, multiple roles, and how does that shape our daily lives? And because of this growing fake news and informations, are we able to understand the truth and reality? These kinds of questions and these kinds of inquiries will be examined by the Professor Dr. Jos Palakil, and I'm sure it will also help in the journey of our self and social transformations. Before I would like to ask Jos Palakil, I would like to ask Dr. Nat to have some words.
Yeah, yeah. I'm audible. Okay. Just to quickly, give the overview that we are on the fourth learning encounter. We have completed 3, and the fourth one again examining uh, our comfort zones and trying to understand it, trying to break out of it in an attempt to reboot ourselves. So this is the last but one lecture. Mine will be very short. It touches on other things, which I will do tomorrow. So yeah, just wanted to tell you that we are here, and I hope you will do the connecting of the dots and understand this whole flow of lectures. Learning encounters. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nat. Over to you, and thank you very much, Professor, for being with us. Over to you, Professor Dr. Jos.
Yes, very good morning and welcome to all. I thank Nirmal for his kind words and introducing and welcoming all of us. I really love to be here. First and foremost, for my friend Nat. We met some 20 years ago for the first time. That was, I think, in Bangkok for the ASEAN, Asian Communication Network meeting. Then for some time we were hibernating, and then last 2 years we are picked up again when Nat moved to India and started this program. So I told him I'm very happy to collaborate because he always has some very creative new ideas, and a man of great devotion and passion, following up things intensely. So I thought I could learn so much from him. So I come as a learner and not as a typical teacher of sort, as we say in our normal language. And that's what Nat also told me, let us be more, all of you are very educated people and very creative, knowledgeable people. So we just kept a dialogue-like thing. But at the same time, I need to give you some inputs in between, and we'll be talking about those things. And myself, actually, this is a learning journey for me too, because I'm trained more in the rational academic way, in the very strict sense, because I studied in Rome in the prestigious Gregorian University, which is known for its academic rigor and rational pursuit. And also my mind is trained like that, actually, to be rational, analytical mind. My thesis was also a subject like that, the use of analogy in theological discourse. That's basically about how can we talk about God using human language. Now, human language, then the medieval the Greek and later medieval solution is that no, our words are either univocal, meaning same, or equivocal, having a totally different meaning. What is in between? If it is univocal, it's impossible because God is so high. Human language cannot speak exactly, depict exactly God. Equivocal means if human language cannot be applied, then you can never talk about God. So that's the problematic, and the solution came is analogy. Our language is partly similar, partly dissimilar when we apply it to God or transcendental realities. That's the problem of analogy. Very interesting topic. And because it's a very rational pursuit, linguistics and everything, for a part-time, for a little bit of entertainment and enjoyment, I also joined the course on media and communication. That too, because I was also interested in technology all the time. Also, I'm interested in cosmology, technology, and all these things. In fact, my favorite subject was anthropology. So I studied theology also in that perspective. So all these bring together to these reflections we are now doing. There will be a little bit of theology, cosmology, anthropology, and my idea of knowledge. So last few years, I have been always engaging in how technology is affecting religion, especially Christian religion, and theology, Christian religious talk. And we have in the US a conference called the Theocom Conference, Theology and Communication. So professors of theology and professors of communication meet together yearly, and we used to have interesting meetings until COVID time, very interesting meetings each time, one topic like Facebook or post-truth or like that. So that was one way of my research interest, media, religion, and culture. So a lot of those thoughts will come into these reflections also. So the problem or the new thing is that now the digital culture is considered as a major revolution in human history. See, from a literal perspective of our intellectual growth, we can say that the invention of language is the first major revolution. We started using symbolic communication, produce sounds. That went for so many years, and then slowly humans invented to write the alphabet. Perhaps maybe some 3,500 years ago. How to record what you say using alphabet, and it went through so many processes. Finally, we have the English alphabet with such a small number of letters, 26 letters, which can represent everything. So your thoughts, your self-expression, otherwise is lost. Now you are recording it digitally. So the early man learned to record it on clay tablets, or then later in stone, and then these were not viable. So slowly they started inventing new things: paper, papyrus, their skins, parchments, and then finally paper printing. This is a very interesting story. Now the main thing is each medium and each method of recording has its own advantages and disadvantages. The book can record only alphabets, black and white, things in black and white. And it records only linearly. You put one line, go from left to right, come to second line, third line, one paragraph, one page, next page. So what happens? The thinking has to be analytical, step by step, linear, progressive thinking. Now comes photography, then you have one more way of recording yourself through images. Then audio recording came, and the digital technology combines all these. We can now use images, both moving and still. We can use, what else? Our sound can be recorded, text can be integrated, many other things can be integrated and manipulated. So in all these stages, self-expression of man has changed. It's a very interesting topic. So we could talk even about that along, but I'm that's not exactly our topic. This simply I'm just bringing you to what is the digital. So when we speak about a curated self in the digital culture, actually, digital culture uses the alphabet is, what is the alphabet of digital culture? See, English has 26 letters. Electronic recording, what are the letters used in a computer? The alphabet of the computer has only 2 digits. What are it?
1 and 0.
1 and 0, you see? Now with 2 digits, 2 alphabet letters, we can write little, or things can be expressed. See what a great miracle it is. So
Okay.
I think we lost him.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Just give it a because I think he's having a little challenge with his system. Both he's using his laptop and his mobile phone. So we just have to just manage it. So I mean, just as we wait for him, just keep connecting the dots, please, because your exercises are going to come. We are just finishing the first 4 lectures, 4 learning encounters lectures, in our understanding. So the connecting the dots are very critical. Also connecting the terms. Now he's also talking about language, about text. And an interesting concept that he just introduced is this whole idea of when you read a text, does the text have one voice or many voices? Yes.
Zeus, can you unmute?
yeah, I'm unmuted. Hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so the problematic is our concept of how all our self-expression changes according to medium. So in the digital media, we have the immense possibility of recording, showing ourselves, we can see the person, hear his voice, and also read his thoughts, or even we can have a story about that person. That gives much more possibility of self-expression. And people are using it. So when we speak about a curation of self, actually we are all, in whatever we do, whether you write an article, whether you are talking to somebody, whether you are producing a video, or you're posting a picture. See, this is the way we are curating our life. Literally, curation is a word used in museums. A museum person, what he does is he collects arts and artifacts which are very suitable to his particular specialization of that museum. Or a librarian collects books necessary for that. So that, the USP, what is my specialty, that is always exhibited in an artwork, in a museum, or in an exhibit, or in a library. In fact, our life is also something like that. That's the main point when I curated life. So we collect ideas, we collect thoughts, we collect memories, experiences, record our feelings. We just bring in a lot of things every day. That is how our life grows. Like the food you eat. The food you eat is exactly the same thing as where does it go? Today I eat a banana or idli or rice. It becomes part of myself. Maybe it's becoming energy or it's going into my cells. The same way, whatever we sense through one of the 5 senses, that goes into making our self. So when we have a better possibility of self-expression, like what we say, the digital media that allows much larger possibilities. So there is a immense possibility of self-expression. And why humans communicate is because you want to express yourself. You want to be known and you want to know others, you want to meet people. So it is in a social interaction that we all grow and develop. So that way, we become our own self, usually in relation to other selves, and which used to happen locally in a particular family or a tribe or a community or a place, bound by time and space. Now, for a oral culture, people is bound by time and space. You have to be here now just to see me and hear me. But now we have the possibility to hear sitting, the limitation of space is overcome. You are all sitting in different countries. I am sitting in another country. Even now, if you are not present today, you can watch later. We have the recording. So all this allows a lot of advantages of connecting with various cultures, people, knowing new things, expressing ourselves in very creative ways. That's one big advantage. Another big advantage is earlier, if you have a lot of good ideas or a poem, you couldn't publish it. You needed a publisher, you needed a lot of money, someone ready to go about it, someone has to print it, then someone has to distribute it. See, now everyone is a publisher. You can broadcast yourself. So the digital culture allows us to curate ourselves in whatever way we want and broadcast it to the entire world. So this is the new opportunity which we have today. So how will you go about describing yourself orally to a person, directly talking in a conversation? How will you express yourself if you are using it in a multimedia way, using video, pictures? Therein comes a lot of good things and bad things. That are things we need to think. Now, just as we proceed, you all introduced yourself very well before, so many times, but I don't want you to introduce that way. But I want just to listen from you. How would you describe yourself? How will you describe yourself? Can I just hear from some of you?
Maybe I can start first.
Yes.
In terms of attitude, character, all these things, right?
Huh?
For me, if I want to describe myself, I'm a person very task-oriented.
Yeah.
And I always want to come up with a system in order to do things.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who you are?
After two to three lessons, learning encounter is sort of I relook into myself again. I believe that some of fellows that will understand me.
Yes.
From the past, how I look myself, and then after 3 weeks, of all these encounters, it's sort of I would say that probably can, I don't know. I just want to look. Identify myself.
I think that is it. You have been very genuine with your expression, correct?
Yes.
At some moments, we create ourselves in such a way, or we are not able to create ourselves.
Yeah.
There's nothing bad about it. Very good. I really like it. Let's hear from one or two more people.
Yeah.
Father, I would describe myself. Well, it's a very difficult question. I can relate to how Ken's feelings of the difficulty of describing oneself. But if I am to encapsulate how I would describe myself, I think it would be nomadic or a wanderer. And I'm all around, and also I'm all around with myself, trying to make sense about my life. I'm also all around trying to make sense about my career, my profession, my vocation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just all around wanderer, I think.
Yeah, that's cool. Another approach.
Yeah.
No,
Okay, let's
it's
ask.
different from Ho. We hear it's something different now.
Let's ask Zen. I think she's very much stuck. Is very much in the digital world.
Yes.
I think so. So she's a child of the digital world.
I see.
I think we always show a different side of us on the web, you know. So I think mostly on the outside, I think it's more of you know, the cheerful, and then like so it's so-called extroverted introvert, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like being extrovert to survive in a community, or like, yeah. And then like I think I also agree with Hokkien and Marnie, like, well, what are we doing here in GMF is actually looking for ourselves. So right now we're in the middle of nowhere, just trying to see whether we're gonna go left, right, up, down.
Yeah, now I think you have collected pieces. Now only you need to make the collage, put it together. Yeah, that's a very interesting learning journey, I think. No, that you are doing very well with these people.
I don't know. I'm not sure. They have to hold it together. I can only do this thing now.
Yes, surely. Now they are slowly piecing things together. No, that
they are now driving. They are driving it now. I'm just being driven.
Even God created from chaos. Cosmos was created from chaos. Okay, can I hear from one more person? Maybe we have Aaron, Home.
Can I go?
Yeah, sure.
For me, like when I'm describing myself, I tend to highlight more on my values and the journey that I'm coming across. But within this 1-2 year, I start to lose my authentic self on the social media because of the situations going around in Myanmar, in my country, in the country that I come from, in Myanmar. So the value that I hold on and the area that I'm trying to develop, and then it's become very different from the journey of the majority of the people who are in Myanmar. So in that sense, I started to lose my authenticity. I started to hide myself and express in a way that in the way that align with the majority. So it is really difficult.
Okay, that's a real painful situation. But certain situations, this is again another difficulty of self. You have a self and you are not free to express yourself, or hesitant to do that, or is it dangerous to do that? But you can still cultivate the self inside yourself, in your close circles. So, see, this again brings us to the question of what is it actually ourself? Finally, we are coming to that question. Now, if you go for an interview, the first question may be describe yourself. And you just Google and see, what they teach. I was very interesting. You don't have time, otherwise I have showed you one or two. You can find by yourself. It tells, you describe how you can be useful to that company. That's what you will say about what qualification you have and how you will fit into that company, how you can be of benefit to that company. Every coach is telling you to do that. Now the problem is, then we have other situations here in a course, in a class, you describe yourself differently. At home, if you are a parent, you describe yourself differently. To a friend, you describe yourself differently. In a religious context, you describe yourself differently. So we have so many descriptions of ourselves. And that all comes with the narration we give. No? Let me just share the screen. So, see, how do we curate ourselves? Through the stories we tell, or write, or live. So, in a oral context, you tell people, or you live with them and they see you. In the digital context, you create narratives. You curate your narrative, shape your life, fulfill your potential. Then, there are unhelpful narratives and helpful narratives about yourself. So in a difficult situation, if you don't fully reveal yourself, it is not a bad thing, because that is also a matter of prudence. There is nothing to be worried. But that's not what happens in social media. What happens in social media? You want to project your best self. That is the real problem with the social media. No? Now, I'm moving a little further. It's a very interesting comparison between mirror and screen. Earlier, from ancient time, people, how did you have a picture of yourself to know how you look like? You have always people used mirror. And before inventing mirror, what did they do?
Reflection from the water, is that?
Yes, reflection from the water. You see, or reflection on any smooth surface, or the earliest mirrors were metal mirrors. I hope you know about it. No, metal was polished such a way maximum, but even with the maximum polishing, you never get a fully perfect image. Even the Romans and all, no, they didn't have. The Bible, St. Paul tells, now we see as if in a mirror. When he tells that, he means it's a vague and opaque picture. No? If you reflect it on a metal or a glass like that. Only after inventing mercury mirror, now we have a clear picture of ourselves. And in the mirror, when you look in the mirror, what happens? I just put a picture of looking in the mirror.
I think it's hanging again.
We look in the mirror to groom ourselves normally, no? Not just to get an exact picture of ourselves, but more often to make our presentation ourselves look better. And then always the concern is, how do you groom yourself better in a better way so that you can. Oh my God, I had a little electricity failure and only on the laptop problem, the other no problem, because our Wi-Fi router is an institution. Our Wi-Fi router is little distant, and that caused the problem. Now I think I'm back. Let me go. Now, sorry for the interruptions. What happens in a screen? There is a big difference when you come to screen. Different from looking at the mirror. See, screen, I mean the computer screen. Before that, we have the TV screen. What is the difference between our mobile screen and the TV screen? The TV screen, you could only see others. The world outside was coming to you, and you try to look at it, learn for yourself from what others are doing, how the world is going, and so many different ways that helped. In India, they said, the villages and the people here in the villages, I'm in North India, Madhya Pradesh. Some 20, 30 years ago, no, they were not so much worried about their house, their dress. They were dressing to work. And they were not very clean, or the houses were just minimal houses. And then when you look at it, after 20 years, suddenly everything changed. And some studies show that it is because of television. Nobody told them to change, but the government installed a television set in each village. And people started seeing finely dressed people, good makeup and neat and tidy houses. And slowly everyone wants such a thing. See, so screen is making you change yourself. When you started seeing others became a mirror in a television. Not more the glass mirror, but you were looking at another person and started grooming or improving your condition. Now, coming to digital media and the mobile or the computer, internet and Facebook, what happens? One more new thing happened. What is that? You can project your image worldwide. No? It became two-way. Not only that you see others, you want to show yourself to others. That makes a big difference. See, if you are not seeing me, I don't have to dress up nicely or keep my room and things so tidily, and the moment I am aware that you are seeing me, then the whole thing changes. No, I shave nicely, groom my hair, think about the looks. No, so again, your self-image changes. And today we are in the screen image, and I have projected here 2-3 pictures. No, one is Mona Lisa. Even Mona Lisa trying to smile because going to take a selfie. No, so you have to smile definitely for a selfie, and you should be in your best self. And the comedy actor there, and so. This the positive influence is that we all want to be our best self. Not like in a mirror, not like watching a TV when you're watching. And what are the things you post in your Facebook or WhatsApp, or the images you share, narratives you share, pictures you share, or stories you share, even the are called smileys or other things you share. We are always we are more careful about the curation. Can we have a little discussion? Tell me, what are the type of things you share to Facebook and what you would not share? Do you ever share your real self to Facebook? Of course, you may share in WhatsApp to people who are known, but it's a public forum. What are the things let us take somebody shares, people want to share on Facebook?
For me, I hardly share anything in Facebook except that, if I got someone shared videos or like some articles that very meaningful, then I'll just reshare. But on my own opinion, my own feelings or photos, I hardly share. I completely don't share.
Yeah, so but what you do is also authentic. No, you are sharing your interests. You are what you think is good for others. No, that's one way of creating.
Yeah.
But in general, that's not what people do. In general, we become a spectacle. Now you want to show yourself, and you want to show yourself. Wow, people post. When they make a good new dish at home, they post it. They post if you have a beautiful garden, you post it. If you make a travel, you post it. So in that way, it's a kind of public album where you want to show yourself as someone doing something important, as someone who is modern, someone who moves with the time, someone who is doing something. So see, take the politicians or the other people. No, normally people advertise themselves. It's a kind of self-advertising. then what happens if self-advertising becomes the norm? See, in media, we only have very special images. No, here the Gucci advertisement, Gucci watches, and fashion. No, do you ever find these beauties in real life? And if you study a little bit about advertisements, you know all these images are manipulated. It's never the real image. Or you call it the photoshopped images. And if you look at this real woman and the picture which is projected here, it will be very different. So this is one big difficulty. You know, we have all tried to alter ourselves by using environment, using objects, or even doing body makeups. So in the visual image culture, the whole stress about the self comes in the appearance, how you look. Do you think when you look at the new generation, the youngsters, children, how they try to look better or look real, which is happening? See, all the craze about fashion, dresses, the artifacts people use. See, all this, of course, it all changed. Always it was changing, but now, you know, you see the things change. See, take for example, the hairstyles. See how children want to have spikes. My brother's son was only 5 years, and one day he was coming with a spike. No, this hair standing all up. And see, our image, the image of our own self, seeing others and want to show off yourself, you keep changing, modifying the body and the appearance. But the big question is that yourself? So there becomes a kind of duality where the mirror was always a reflection of at least your actuality. The screen becomes, you never appear before the screen with our reality like that. Now, because the mirror was always in the private space, only you are watching it, and you really want to know how you look exactly, authentically, and want to improve it or groom yourself. Whereas when you want to show it in the mirror, you want to show a kind of ideal artificial self. Now, my question is, if someone does that for a long time, what will happen? Over a period of time.
Identity confusion.
Yeah, definitely there will be identity confusion.
Yeah, not living in the real world is always.
Yeah. How is it going to affect the person? In a way, you are living in many worlds, you know. With the friends, you put up oneself. At home, children, you know, they behave differently. School, they put up another self. Where do they show the real self?
I think they're not even sure which is their real self in the end.
Yeah, in the end, only the real self will remain. But what happens on the way, on the process? Say at one slide. It did not. Yeah, here it has come. This is an article from 2019 when Facebook was 10 years. one lady wrote an article, you have sucked, about Zuckerberg, my core self versus my curated self, and the decade we spent on Facebook. If there is anything that happened in the last decade, it can be claimed that at least one generation lost itself while another generation found itself. What is this lost generation is the people who are not on Facebook, and the generation who gained is the people on Facebook. And the author tells that these two generations are really different. There is an age difference between these two. I like to think that my curated self is 10 years old, because he started curating for Facebook only in 2009. And that my core self is much decades older, because that's my original self, which has been always with me. And that it remains more nebulous and elusive. So the more I focus on my curated self, my original, I don't care for my original self. It is rotting or it is uncared for, and it becomes nebulous, means it's like foggy, and I don't have a very clear picture about it. So that's what happens when you live two identities or three identities. There will be always confusion between the real and the other. The two are in talks, but it seems like my curated self is the power player. So this is an honest reflection by a journalist writing on what happened with the new curated self in the Facebook or the digital age. So there is always a conflict between the genuine, authentic self and the projected self. And I think the author is right saying that it seems that my curated self is the power player. Finally, my curated self wins. To share something worth mentioning, until my timeline grows into a curated collection of milestones, opinions, trivia, news. And this curation goes into a distinct representation of a self. So we are creating a kind of special representation of the self. Of course, it's based on my real self, but at the same time, it is so different, seeing things through the eyes of the screen. So this is one of the big challenges today when we speak about the self-curation then and now. So we can say that the social media gives us a chance to choose how we present ourselves to the world. We can snap and share a picture in the moment or carefully stage photos. And we can select only those we think are the best. We never, even if the picture is a little out of focus, we'll not share it because it gives a bad impression about you. Or if the occasion or the situation, your face, you are not very happy and pleasant, you may not share it. Or you didn't have your hair properly, or a dress is, you don't like your fashion of the dress, you may not share it. So we become very, very selective about what we show and what we do not show. And then slowly this becomes our way. We show one thing and we are another thing. And that's a real danger happening. While social media is an inspirational and revolutionary means of connecting with others, focusing on appearance and heavily relying on approval of others through likes and comments is never good. So this is a second fallout. When we focus on appearance and then secondly, Facebook, I don't know, good or bad, the possibility to like it. Earlier they had allowed only like, now they also allow dislike. And why Facebook didn't want to allow dislike? Initially, they allowed only likes.
Maybe to prevent too much negative vibes. I mean, when people dislike us, it shows some hatred, like we receive some negative vibes.
Correct. One thing is people can misuse it to put somebody down and all. But more than that, no, the psychological reason is everyone wants to be liked. Nobody wants to be disliked. No, we only want likes. That is a kind of human nature. And we don't want to show our bad side or our weaker sides. The same way we don't want to be disliked by anyone. then when people get familiar only with likes, then there is another danger. This is another article in a magazine called Anxiety.org. They say that, creating a strong online identity may contribute to depression, anxiety, and other problems. Is it true?
Yes, that is. Sorry.
And how is it possible? No, you have immense option to showcase yourself and connect with so many people. Immense possibilities. The whole world is before you. But then how can you go into depression, anxiety, and other problems?
Like I've seen this pattern with content creators in YouTube. At some point, they're very active, and then there comes a time that they die down in terms of their content, the presentation of their content, because they're going through some form of depression and anxiety because they're after the expectations of people towards them. So, and then they cannot keep up to that expectation. That's why they become anxious and depressed.
Yeah, that's a very good answer, I think, because one thing, our own expectation about ourselves, then people's expectations. And when you feel you are not able to meet somebody's expectation, then you become depressed. Very correct. There could be more reasons and other reasons. All of you can share, please. See, even likes can lead you to depression. How is that? How like works? It's very, very. First, it may appear like how is it possible? But you think a little deeper. See, I posted one thing and it gets 1,000 likes. Next day, I post something else, even better, I think, but I get only 500 likes. What happens? See, there's a kind of devaluation. Your self-esteem begins to go down slowly. Another possibility, you posted something, you get 100,000 likes and you are very happy and celebrate. Then the next day you realize that your friend posted something and he got 200,000 likes. See, slowly envy, jealousy. See, you're happy with 100,000 like was a wonderful achievement, but when you find a rival person or someone else who is doing it, is getting more likes, then this 100,000 loses its value slowly. So this, when you depend on somebody else's ideas and likes, then there is a problem. Your self-image based on evaluation by others. So this is a kind of post, this street art or line art, and that is posted in that same article. All we need is more likes, and there is no end to more likes. Once you are used to more likes, any less like you cannot bear. And when you have others are more like than you, then again problem. So basing your self-esteem or self-concept or self-value on others' likes, that's the biggest danger I find in the digital media. So slowly your self-esteem will definitely be affected. So apart from harvesting your data, that's first part.
You're breaking up.
That
You're breaking up, Father Jose.
damaging
extent. Father Jose? Father Jose, you're breaking up. We can't hear you. Just give me a...
We lost him. Yeah, let's.
I don't know what happened in between. You hear me now?
Yes,
Hello?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, Father.
So, to what we saw so far, we only highlighted some aspects. Do you think there is some truth in this, or to what extent, or maybe we are not personally affected, but you can think about other examples of children. I know some children who suddenly go depressed because they posted something and friends did not like it. Or somebody gave a little critical evaluation about something. So we become very touchy, that is one big danger which many educators show now. Now, beyond that personal data, the other dangers people always tell is this, apart from harvesting, you see the screen, right? Can you see the, yeah.
Yes.
Apart from harvesting our data with or without our knowledge to suit various corporate and political ends, Facebook and other social media also the great disassembler of selves. Thanks to Facebook and other social media platforms, this was a decade I saw myself split into two, the core self and the curated self. Here another danger is not only the economy we can call the like and dislike, but there is another problem which Google is doing to us. Google reads who you are, depending on what are the websites you choose, what are the words you use in your social net media or in email or in any other platform, the searches you do, and the movies you watch or the YouTube posts you watch longest, how much time you watch one particular content. Next time you search for something, Google will give you those things which are closer to your choices. So here the second danger is someone else or the technology begins to choose what you see and hear. Many people think that Google gives you immense possibility of open search to everything, but not true. In fact, nowadays they have algorithms which study your nature and tell you who you are and how you have to behave, what are your choices, how much time you spend on what, and you begin to get those things. Have you experienced that? At some point, have you experienced?
Yes, I have observed that, Father, when I search or when I do some things in Facebook, some of those topics are recommended in my Instagram, because I have Instagram and Twitter also. So some of those stuffs are recommended in my Twitter account and also in my Instagram account, and also in YouTube they have certain recommendations which at some point I got so confused. How come they know about my interest? So I think that's really with the algorithm.
Yeah, it's called data harvesting. They record everything you do online, and they create a profile for you. And then the next day, even you search for news. You get today. If I'm interested more in the news in let us say about economic aspects or petroleum prices. If you search 1 or 2 times, the next day you get only that. The other day I ordered something on Amazon, and then after a week, it was actually, I can show you this. I bought a pair of pliers in Amazon last week for some work. Yesterday, I took Flipkart to order some medicine for a friend of mine, homeo medicine. It's an old man, he's not handling technology, but I found it only in Flipkart. When I opened Flipkart, the first suggestion was this picture of this player, which I bought in Amazon. This, to tell you a simplest example. So what happens, even if you are a scholar, you may see only things which Google thinks you are interested. I think this is the biggest problem now with our. So our profile is being curated by technology in unknown ways. And are they doing it to our best interests? No. Theirs is pure commercial interest. Google wants revenue from advertisers. And they choose who pays more money will be shown first. Have you noticed that when you search for something? Now, whoever pays for ad, theirs will be shown first, even if you are searching something important. Nowadays, I think when you search something critical, you have to scroll 1 or 2 pages, then only you come to the real thing. Before that, it will be all advertised, useless things. So first of all, we said, we curate ourselves. We create a kind of artificial acceptable image of ourselves online. Secondly, what happens is even Google itself is creating a special profile for you. And what happens if you happen to read only those things which are suggested and you don't get a very objective, creative understanding? That's very much limiting. You can try this, you try with your profile, always now. That's why Chrome always asks you to sign up. You have to sign up in your account. They'll very much they insist. Suppose you open your browser without that particular account or a particular profile, then the search will be very different. What you see in your search is very different. So nowadays, that has become a big problem, I think. For me, at least, you're searching for an article and they bring out things you searched for last time or for another occasion. Now, next 1 or 2 weeks, if I search for something, they'll be bringing me about about self and related things until they find I am searching for something else. So we are being profiled in the media. That is the second most big danger. So what happens when we unknowingly follow this? Our knowledge will be limited. Our perspectives are going to be limited. In a way, we are very much limited. So we could elaborate on this very much, but I am just stopping here. This just hinting at these few things. And a third thing which many say that there is a commodification of self. We become a product. That's still deeper problem. That's why I didn't mention it. It does not directly affect us personally in a way, because we don't go to that extent of Facebook use. But children and others, we call it a commodification. What is commodification? Our self becomes an object of sale. Many people who constantly post videos and try to earn an income from Google for their videos. What they do is they are actually selling themselves. They use such a language, such a posture, such a topics. So it's no more your genuine self or genuine interest that you take up, but things that get more likes because you want to sell. So we say that, many studies say that actually you are commodifying, you are making yourself a commercial product because of this pressure. So that is again a deeper problem that I think we are not into it unless you are so much into social media. So the primary 2 dangers, one, we begin to put up an artificial self. Secondly, we get profiled by media and then our searches are even limited, our choices get limited, although it gives the impression everything is fine. Then also we begin to become objects rather than subjects. We lose that subjectivity. That's what makes us real self. Your agency, your agency. Somebody else is forcing upon you some kind of an agency. So this is the first part, I thought. So the question is, what I have predicted here, describe how the curated self may or may not represent the real self. Analyze the benefits and drawbacks of representing different parts of the real self online, and can we really present our real self online? That's a big question. The answer is yes and no. Then another thing is avatars, no? The avatars allow you to do things otherwise you won't do. Because you are anonymous, you put on somebody else's dress. So this is more true with the young generation people who go into the Web3 interactive web places and virtual media. What happens is you begin to do things you would never do in your real life. See, I have one of my nephews who likes to play with cars, cars racing. Whenever he gets a mobile or a computer, he plays car racing. But what he does is, he races the car and hits all the people standing on the side, or passengers, people, or things, objects on the roadside. He'll hit and destroy or kill people on this. He never wants to win. I asked him, why do you do that? He said, that is fun for me. I don't want to win like that. I enjoy when I hit somebody and kill him, or I hit and destroy something on the way, billboard, or hit another car and destroy him on the bridge, and all. He will hit all the cars and chase them out of the bridge into the river, and he laughs and enjoys it. See how this kind of a mindset can really begin to change our very idea of self. And then after 1 or 2 years, I asked him, what are you going to become? He said, I want to become a soldier. Then I asked him, why you want to become a soldier? Then he said, then I can shoot and kill people really. No, in the video game, you kill only people and you see only virtual blood. He said, I'll get a real gun and I can shoot real people. But of course, he didn't do all that. As he grew up, he gave up, and now he's moving in the medical field and all. But you see how the self is being created. 1 second, please. See how the self-image and self-concept and self-organization can very much change with the screen. So this is what makes a screen very different from the mirror. Our self-definition begins to take a new turn. And I recommend this book by Yasmin Ibrahim, Production of Self in the Digital Age. It's a very interesting. I have the PDF, I can send it to you. I think Nat, I sent you also this one. Maybe you can forward it all. And these are the chapters in it, very interesting. Producing the self online, self and its relationship with the screen and mirror. Very interesting chapter. Anchoring the self through the banal, everyday and familiar. This is, for me, that the second chapter was more interesting. Why? Because, see, with the visual media, we are presenting only the everyday things. Banal means now the basic and ordinary things. The interest in extraordinary things, higher things, spiritual things, or things of lasting value, this is there. See, in media, everything has only one day value, You post something today, tomorrow if something different comes, then you ignore and forget all about it. So this is one of the biggest danger, I think. The self, actually our human self is not like that, We are developing ourselves step by step, growing and nourishing ourselves. But in a fleeting culture of the media, what happens is we are interested only in everyday thing, what you can see, touch and hear, something which is fun or something which is of enjoyment. So that's a big, when you anchor yourself, when yourself is rooted on these banal or everyday or familiar things, all higher aspirations do not get a chance to appear or to flourish. That is a big problem. He discussed that very nicely. Then self-love and self-curation online. He says that we met 10 narcissistic, the famous Greek story of Narcissus, who was always seeing his image and enjoying it. So he was looking into the river. They had only water at that time, no mirror. So he would sit days and hours and days looking at his own image and enjoying himself. And finally rotted and died. No, that is the kind of narcissism. Psychologists speak about it. So too much engagement in the digital media leads to a kind of narcissism, self-love, and you don't see others, you don't see the suffering of others. See, that's why people take, even when an accident happens, no, people go, first thing they do is to take a selfie there or take a photo and post it. You may think it's how they can be so inhuman, no compassion, no love, no care, because they want to be the first one to post that accident. Someone is dying on the road, you post an accident. You post it online and you think you have done something great. So that self-love overtakes all our compassion and care, everything. Then another thing it shows is the self-commodification. No? We are selling our own self online. No? That can also. Then he discusses some other aspects, self and its strategies, immortality. It's a kind of vain attempt. It's a little more metaphysical reflection maybe gives. We are trying to immortalize our moments, which is impossible. So I'll send you this book. It should be very interesting read to follow it up. Actually, I was summarizing some of the ideas I found here, plus something else. Okay, here we'll have a break. Okay, let's take 5 minutes just to listen back to you about what we discussed the previous session. I'm sure you may have a lot of things to add to it. So I'd like to hear your reflections on the topic. I was just jumping through it, in the hyperlink way, just jumping from point to point. And maybe something I miss, maybe you have some new ideas to add to it or some reflections about it. Can we take 5 minutes? And I would love if everyone can tell 1 or 2 sentences or what you picked up from that or what you can add to that. Yes, hence.
Share. Do share. Aaron, you can share something.
You can unmute yourself and speak.
I'm still thinking about what I want to share for now.
I saw your hand, raised the hand, so I thought maybe you wanted to talk. Anybody else? Everyone may have some thoughts going through their mind. Now you can express yourself, no problem.
I can begin, Father. Well, I have a different way of expressing myself at different medium or different social media accounts. Mm-hmm. I have a different way of expressing myself in Facebook, in my Instagram account, and also in my Twitter account. But something very common with the self that I curate in Facebook and in Twitter is appearing or hoping to appear to be to be consciously aware with everything that's happening, say, for example, in our country. So to cite an example, yesterday, I spent a lot of time responding to a friend commenting or stating some misinformation regarding the relationship between the Philippines and with Russia and China, and also with the war going on between China and between Ukraine and also with Russia. So I spent a lot of energy trying to tell her that some things are not right in terms of our relations. So it's also my way of appearing in social media that I am well aware of what's happening, and and there's also a part of my ego who not want to be defeated in terms of my points. I always make sure that I get to respond to what she tells, what she would respond to the issue. So my goal is really to be the last person to say something about the issue. So yeah, that was my observation yesterday. I spent a lot of energy doing that actually last time. Yeah, so that's for me.
I think it is good, connectivity and interacting with people. That's the best thing you can do, I think. Okay, more views on it. Oh,
I can go next.
yeah, Phil.
I think I would be more or less the same with Marnie. I would present myself differently in Facebook, Instagram, and that's the only thing that I have. I'm only using Facebook and Instagram actively. So far, it depends on the audience that I have on the Facebook and also Instagram. So for Facebook, right, we also have families, we have elders and all those things. But for my Instagram, I usually have the friends among my age. So it's a different context of communication what I'm taking for. For Facebook, I'm usually share about I don't really do my own content in Facebook. It's just about sharing and
sharing.
Yeah, but I do a lot of my own posting in Instagram. For me, I don't know. Most people say that please post nice thing. Please only post good things. But I actually post good and bad things. So yeah. So whatever, somehow we celebrate ourselves, we celebrate other people on our platform. And the next thing we might have, I also share stories about my struggle whenever. So last time I was having a full-time job by doing my also full-time masters. So I tell the same struggle to people so that they acknowledge that the journey is not easy, but you can go through it. So this is the thing that I'm creating awareness to people. Like when I share my struggle, it's not like to drag people down. It's just to make you aware that everything, this is the person that you see, she might be happy and she also has struggle behind it. So I think one of the things that when it comes to social media or people sharing things, we always think that this people life, this person's life is so easy. She doesn't have problem. She always lead a good life. So somehow this create insecurity in ourselves. So it reflects to us that why am I the only one who keep having problems? Why I cannot achieve this? Why I cannot have this? But despite of the things that I want people to be aware that you can have this thing, but I don't have the whatever that you are having. So I put that kind of, it's not a struggle, I think, but is a reality that you are trying to put into people's mind whenever they are seeing you as a person. So but yeah, filter is still needed. Somehow I try my best to filter as much of my emotions before I put something on social media. So whenever I'm angry at someone, somehow we have the tendency, or I don't know, we have that kind of urgency to post something, to write something.
Oh, you are real on the social media also. That's great.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I took the good and bad side.
Yes, surely.
The reality of life.
We do it in our own circles. No, I have my family circle. We post everything later, and that way it's very big blessing. Okay, somebody else has something to say, or we move into one more step? Yeah,
Professor, short sharings and all reflections. It's not only there was a time that media was, in the business of increasing TRP, but now because of the social media and everyone has access to YouTube and, and easy sharings, and it's like now each individual is also in the business of increasing likes,
Yes.
post. And the sad thing, especially what is happening in my village, especially where there was no such a social media, now it's increasing because of the Wi-Fi access. And what used to happen like few years back, if somebody was not feeling well and somebody has to take to hospital, then the news goes very fast, and everybody was there ready to help them, to carry from one place to another.
Yeah.
But now what is happening is, with this media, we don't know who is getting sick, and we only came to know the person is sick just because of the stories they post.
Oh.
And the next to the house does not aware, and they don't, when people are not, it's not only disintegrating self but also disintegrating community.
Very correct.
That is very sad things
Yes.
happening with this technology, and
Yes.
that is what I'm little bit worried about.
You are right, Norman. Not only in community, even families, it's happening. Parents and children, they chat on the Facebook and directly face to face. No, it's a big danger. That family bond is not built through the media. No, it's only through face to face interaction we really build.
I like to share one observation. This is in Malaysia. When I was in Malaysia a couple of years back, I was sitting in. I had a friend who had come from Philippines, and I took him to an ice cream parlor in the middle of a big mall. He likes ice cream. In fact, he's diabetic, but he makes diabetic ice creams. Very interesting way of making ice cream, which is really tasty, but very friendly with diabetics. But of course, this place I couldn't take him to that, but he can take once in a while some normal ice cream. So he took it there, and as we were sitting, a family walked into the parlor and sat on a sofa set. Father, mother, daughter, and both of us were watching. When they sat down, they ordered the person came, they ordered ice cream, and immediately all the three of them took their mobile phone and went into their mobile phone. So I was looking at my friend. My friend he said, "This is what's happening." They are not talking with each other. They were completely into their own bubble, completely. So that's one observation. You're talking about how social media affects not only self but also the idea of family.
Yes.
They're not talking to each other, but they are looking at them. All the three of them: mother, father, daughter. All the three of them. And so, of course, later,
That's right.
community too.
See, the social media is no more social. It has become self-media. There's an interesting book, Alone Together. Not you may know, or others, I can send you even that. It's a very interesting book by an American author. I just have to recall the name. Anyway, Alone Together, very interesting study on how social media is promoting kind of loneliness, making people lonely, because we have lost that sense of being together. Okay, can we move ahead? See, now the remaining question is two questions. One, when we have the creating different selves and sometimes even putting on artificial self, what about our real self? Does it continue? Does it survive? Does it grow? One thing. Secondly, how the whole world perception about the human self has changed. For this, I'll take a little walk through, a little bit of theoretical look, but I'll be very quick and summary. I'll share the screen a little bit for that. It's something like philosophy, and it is difficult, don't bother, but I think it's important to take a look at what is the idea of self throughout the history.
Okay, here. So the next screen. So this famous question was asked by. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
So this famous question, know yourself, know thyself. It is ascribed to Socrates. Socrates, is a Greek thinker, and he is considered as the one who made the statement, know thyself. But now studies show that it was even prior to Socrates. The Delphic temple, the famous temple in Athens, they had this writing on the entrance. Know thyself, the last sentence of the slide. Know thyself, gnoti sothon, the Greek thing called know thyself. This encryption was there on the temple's entrance. So what does it mean, know thyself? For ordinary people, we simply ask, what is self? Means the answer is very simple. I am a self, you are a self. I call myself, then you call yourself. So just everyone is a self and a person living, breathing, thinking human being, interacting human being. But philosophers go a little deeper. What does it mean to be myself? And they have come up with many answers. The Greek people believed that self-knowledge is the most important one. And what is a self? Plato said self is something, a spiritual reality, which is inside humans, an invisible spiritual reality, not just what you see, touch, and hear, but there is some substratum which is holding the human experience together. And Aristotle also said it's a kind of metaphysical structure inside, or he called it the rationality, the reason, consciousness. But in the Roman culture, self was identified more with the rhetoric, law, order, Roman peace. So they were more interested in a social, cultural atmosphere in which a person can thrive. But the social image of a person. The Middle Ages, in the West especially because of the Christian influence also, the idea of soul was developed from St. Thomas and Aristotle, etc., as a spiritual dimension of man's, the self as a spiritual, the genuine self. In the Christian concept, it is called also the image of God. The Bible, in the creation story in Genesis 1, the first book of the Bible, it says, now God created man in his own image. In his own image, he created them, male and female, he created them, and he gave them the rational or share in all divine faculties. So this Christian and the Greek ideas together has dominated the Western idea of self, and it was centered on God actually. Whereas in the Indian and Eastern systems, it was slightly different. The Eastern system, basically, the self is considered as the divine being or the absolute consciousness, or in India it's called Brahman, or the super consciousness, or the ultimate consciousness. And all individuality was considered as a kind of ignorance. In Indian philosophy, it's called ignorance or Maya. You only feel that you are a separate individual. You are actually belonging to the part of the divine being or the supreme being. And only when you realize that you overcome this ignorance. So self-knowledge meant your knowledge, total identity with the supreme being. So individuality didn't have much role. Whereas in the West and especially Christian traditions, the individuality is what makes you. You are a separate, independent, acting being. And even after death, you are going to be. So it was centered on God, spirit, etc. Come the Middle Ages, a big change comes. the whole focus changes to man, especially with the philosopher Descartes. You know, the famous dictum, no cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. That is a famous saying of Descartes. He said that I am a thinking subject. I am a thinking subject, a perceiving subject. I see the world. I draw ideas from the world, and I exist as a thinking subject. So this thinking subject is a self, and not the. He doesn't bother about whether there is a spiritual substance or other, just consciousness, my rationality, etc. And other philosophers like Kant said, no, there is a transcendental dimension. Thinking self cannot be part of the physical material. It should be the substratum of all this. So again, a kind of spiritual understanding. Comes Hume, the phenomenologist, he says, my God, there is nothing like a self. There is only a bundle of perceptions. There is a center within each human being, maybe located in the brain or somewhere, which organizes, it's a kind of organizing center of all your perceptions. So when your perceptions end, yourself also ends. And that is from where all the theistic thinking and negative thinkings about self comes there. Then added to that came the theory of evolution by Darwin and the theory or psychological theory by Freud. They also follow more this line. They said, no, Darwin said, you're a product of evolution, means you are purely a biological product, a refined product, result of complexification of chemical material processes, selective survival. So what are you? You are a physical reality, but a very complex organism. Organism is self-organizing reality called organism. So you are able to survive by yourself, and you have a central consciousness, which is a product of biological actions, chemical actions. Freud goes one step further. He reduces everything to mind and feelings and what you think, feel about, not what you think about it. The real self is what you feel. So there's a lot of confusion in the last 400 years, and it's a kind of if you ask somebody today, someone who has a very limited understanding, this is a question asked a few years ago. One magazine called Philosophy Now asked several people, the question of the month was, who am I or what am I? I just collected one or two answers. One is this: I am a living, breathing organism signified by the words human being. I am a material or physical being, fairly recognizable over time to me and to others. I am a body. Through my body, I can move, touch, see, hear, taste, and smell. The array of physical sensations available to me also includes pain, hunger, thirst, tiredness, injury, sickness, fear, apprehension, and pleasure. In this way, I experience myself, others, and the world around me. So, an idea of self as a purely physical reality belonging to body. Another answer is, however, there is another aspect of me directly visible and definable. This is aspect of me which thinks and feels, reflects and judges, remembers and anticipates. Words used to describe this include mind, spirit, heart, soul, awareness, consciousness. This part of me is aware that I can never be fully known or understood by myself or by others. So this is again the traditional spiritual understanding of the self. So there's this conflict between the two nowadays, and people are really confused. So another answer: I am a physical body and an emotional, psychological being. And here psychological, you also put spiritual, but not in the exactly spiritual sense. The two together make me a person, the physical and being a person means that I have virtues and flaws, gifts and needs, possibilities and defeats. I'm basically good, but I am capable of evil. I'm neither an angel nor a monster. Being a person means that I am a social animal, needing connection, recognition, acceptance from others, while simultaneously knowing myself isolated and solitary with many experiences. However, I also realize that this paradoxical condition is a universal experience, and this enables emergence of empathy and compassion for others. So these are all some of the things people now see. We have a very vague way of looking at what is self, who am I, because of the many ideologies, many systems. This is another simplest answer, very interesting. I have a body, but I am not my body. I have emotions, but I am not my emotions. I have a mind, but I am not my mind. I have roles to play in life, but I am not any of them. I am the center of pure consciousness. This is the modern way of thinking. No, it's not in the spiritual sense or in relation to God, but it's in relation to self, which is a psychological, physical reality, psycho-physical reality, which we call as consciousness. And we know there is a big debate whether consciousness is a spiritual feature, like the Greek people think, or like the Karthaka think, or is it simply a product of complexification through evolution and the structure of the mind as conscious, unconscious, a collective center or organizing center. So this confusion is not resolved. Many people think many different things in this sense. So this is where the idea of self stays, and we need to take a stand in this. That's a very, very difficult thing. And how you look at yourself can make a big difference. Now, each one of us, we may have a different idea of self, and depending on our religious affiliations, our political affiliations, our idea of world, which we developed over time, all this is possible. So it's good that if you want to share something which you think, do you think the self is a kind of spiritual reality, immaterial, and which will continue after this death, the physical reality is gone? Or are we just a center of consciousness and awareness and a kind of byproduct or a superior product of our brain? So this is a very interesting area to explore. I leave it open. I personally hold that it's a spiritual center. Of course, as a Christian and as a priest, my firm conviction is that we have ourself is a spiritual reality. We are not just product of a kind of material evolution or just a bundle of psychological emotions, but there is a deeper sense. It's not only Christian, it's also very interestingly a kind of Indian perspective. The Indian ancient Rig Vedas, Vedas, very, very simple way they answer it. In the Veda, there is a question when one person go to a sannyasi and asks, what is reality? What is me? Then I said, this is my hand. Can I cut off my hand, still be me? Yes. This is my leg, this is my body, this is my feeling, this is what I think, this is my head. So when I say, the brain, the head is cut off, you can't survive. If you cut off the hand, you can survive. But who says my head? That is the Indian way of asking, who says my head? So the sannyasi would say, the I behind the my, that is the self. So there is a ultimate reality which holds everything together. The human experience, your psychological experience, your intelligence, your physical features. There is a central reality which is invisible and eternal. That is the way even Indian thinking goes. Buddhist thinking, I think, more based on consciousness. You're a center of consciousness, and they think of a world mind and the larger permanent consciousness of which you are part, etc. So there are very, very divergent views. Now, I think I'll place the latest thinking in this line begins to blur much more. Have you heard about Yuval Harari? The Israelite author Yuval Harari?
Yeah.
So I like to play some 10 minutes of his talk. Maybe you can watch. It's a 1 hour, 50 minutes talk he gave in Google Center in 2015. He was asked about new religions or new realities, and he begins to say that, no, we are entering into a new era of artificial intelligence where human self may be bypassed by artificial intelligence, and how the evolution, the whole talk is very interesting. I will share you the link later. But for now, I'll play just one part of it. Let's see.
Yes, an inner calculating probability of survival and responses where the first result is that I should try and again.
So I am starting with the, can you hear me? Somebody can shout me back.
Yeah, we can hear you.
And can you hear the video and the audio? See the video.
Now we cannot see the video, but we can only listen. So once you play the video, then can you share that particular screen?
After playing, you have to share, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I've done this before, so I was very confident. Now it didn't work.
Professor, you can just click on the new share, and that will help you to move into the.
Which one? I'm playing it now, and
yeah.
Let me see.
Now with the advent of biotechnology, we are facing
Okay, now I got it.
Okay.
There is a possibility of real biological gaps opening.
Are you hearing now?
Into different biological states.
Yeah,
Yes, Professor.
I can see.
Okay, so I am playing from the 44th minute, 40. So this is Yuval Harari. He's a very famous young writer. He was a teacher in the school. He did the mindfulness meditation, he claims, for 10 years in Burma. This Vipassana, and then he started meditating and he started studying. He has two famous books. One is Homo Sapiens. It's about the past, how humans evolved to become what they are today. Then after the big success, it was a bestseller for several years. Then he wrote the second book called Homo Deus, in which he claims that we are all going to grow into superhumans. Actually, God, man himself is the God, and he's going to be God. And here I don't agree with all that he says, but there are a lot of good insights and information in what he says. It will be good if we can read the Homo Sapiens. Our whole mindset about humanity will change. He explains why the wars are still happening and lot of good things. And this speech is more about our idea of the world and self. So he tells that, The era of religions are over with modernism, but modernism brought in liberalism in which man was reduced to feelings. So not even consciousness, not even intelligence, not even spirit or soul, but a bundle of feelings. And the present culture is what you feel is what is right. But then it tells even that is getting over. Now we are entering another era. That's what I wanted to listen to.
The other type of calculation problem that this machine is built to calculate concerns not survival but reproduction. And again, you look at, if you're a peacock, you look at a peacock. If you're a human, you look at a human, and you need to make up your mind sometimes very quickly. Is this a good mate or not? And again, a lot of information floods in from the eyes, from the ears, from the nose, from within the body. And within a split second, you get the result, not as a number, but as a feeling. You will feel this is beautiful, this is attractive. Oh no, it's not beautiful, it's not attractive, it's disgusting, whatever. All these sexual feelings, again, they are biochemical algorithms. They are not some spiritual whatever that comes from the spine. They are the result of very, very complex biochemical algorithms that natural selection has evolved and selected from millions upon millions of generations until they came to us. Now, so far, this biological insight actually supported liberalism. Because liberalism, as I said earlier, it believes in feelings as the supreme source of authority. What I feel, this is the supreme source of authority on the planet. And biologists could come and say, this is actually a very keen insight. This is true. Because if you want to make decisions about your life, and you have two potential sources of authority, say the Bible or your own feelings, biologists will tell you, go with your feelings. The Bible contains the wisdom of a few priests in ancient Jerusalem. Your feelings contain the wisdom of millions upon millions of years of evolution. The algorithms that are your feelings have passed the most rigorous test of natural selection. Each one of your genes and each one of your algorithms is here today because it has succeeded for millions of years to pass the most rigorous test of natural selection. So if you need to make a decision, you better go with your feelings. This was the situation maybe until today. But now things are changing. In two ways, things are changing. First of all, biologists decipher the biochemical algorithms that compose our body and that are responsible for our feelings. They are no longer mysterious entities as they were before. We understand them better and better, why I feel this way in this particular situation. And secondly, we have computer scientists that are creating better and better electronic algorithms. Now, the question that arises today is what will happen once we create an algorithm that knows me better, that understands me and my feelings better than I can understand myself? What will happen then is that authority will shift. It will shift away from the feelings of individuals to these outside algorithms. For our feelings at present, you can say, are the best algorithms in the universe. But after all, they are becoming outdated. They appeared maybe the way that we have them today, maybe a few tens of thousands of years ago in the African savannah. So far, they have been the best algorithms around, but we are now at the position to produce an updated version, something better. And when we have better algorithms, then the authority will shift to them. This is already happening in at least a few fields of life, most clearly in the field of medicine and decisions about your own body and your own health. I think it's not far-fetched to say that all of you who are now listening decisions about our bodies during our lifetime will not be taken by our feelings, they will be taken by external algorithms. Algorithms that understand our own internal systems and that have statistics about millions upon millions.
So I stopped the screen sharing. I gave a little long time for this man because I thought he will explain this thing much better than me. And what is your first emotion hearing this? Please share, everyone. Where are we going? Who is going to curate ourselves? We, feelings, biological, technical, is it artificial intelligence? Then where are we going? What is? For me, it's a very, very scary thing that is happening. Of course, there are a lot of merits, but at the same time, then where is your identity? Who are you? If somebody has to ask the question, who am I? If you ask Google, strangely, if you ask Google, who am I? There is no answer. Google doesn't know that part. There's many other things. So, listening to Harari, what is some of your thoughts? I like to hear what was your emotion. How do you felt? Encouraged, happy, enthusiastic, or a little dim and dull, or so? Because that way we know better how it connected to you. Please.
Hi, Father. Okay, for me, I think, whoa, okay. I think I shared with the fellows before that, for myself, that I'm just too stuck into my, like autopilot mode of the daily lives.
Mm-hmm.
We are busy. We just, as I mentioned just now, that I'm very task oriented. So one task after the other. Slowly that we are in trap of that, social media that, we no longer understand ourselves more because that we don't have time, like, a silent time for ourselves, that, to look inside, then rather than, we just follow, due to the works, we need to use the technologies, and also especially sometimes that we just go through Facebook. So indirectly that, we are away, I would say that, like leaning away from who am I, that, originally, towards that, like what he mentioned just now, that social media has much better understanding about ourselves because of the algorithm, that they created. So it's like, of course, that, that algorithm is that they use it for the business purpose, that in order to sell the products and all those things. So that's why that, it's somehow that guiding us, maybe for myself, that as a case that, slowly that, away, because but once we don't have time for ourselves, that's why Dr. Nat keep telling us that you need to dialogue with yourself, regardless then how busy you are, allocate times, because this is set for us to be mindful that we still have to back to ourselves originally, rather than away from who we are, just because of the busy schedule, just because of the the autopilot mode daily, all these things. Again, it was somehow that lost the purpose of life, that where we might have the passion.
Yeah, that's very good. Thank you for the reflections. More people, because we are a little. But Nat told me we had to today stop at 11:45. So if you can be brief with your interactions, it will be nice. Who comes next?
Yes, just a short comment from me after watching Yuval Harari's the clip. It's for me, it was very amazing that in the frontier of science, this would help people's lives. Algorithms and big data will be very precise in identifying health problems and etc. On the other part, I think that human behavior would be strongly affected to the point where we are manufactured. We have become totally manufactured. So in balance to this, I think the education system should have a way to address these realities. And in some places, we have come up with subjects like media literacy, which in a way is helping us realize these things. So it is not about the implacable force of the algorithms that will destroy us. It's about how we are to face this. That is the main point for me, Father. Yes.
Very good. The point is correct. We need to own our own curation, not leave it to media, social media, Facebook likes. This is the biggest challenge for today. Okay, one or two more people, because you are sharing matters.
I am actually, Father, I'm actually very optimistic about it, especially on the health, on healthcare. Yeah.
Of course, many fronts it's very, very useful. But at the same time, when we come to our own real self, see, we can allow GPS to take us where show us the road, but can you allow a GPS or algorithm to tell you what is your spiritual dimension, what is your aspirations in life, what is your deeper realities of your interior life? I don't think so. Of course, for diagnosing a sickness, showing you the road with GPS, or taking to the best place, choosing the right hotel, lot of ways, but will it work with our interior, real humanity? That's a big challenge. Ray, we like to listen to you.
Hello, Father. Good afternoon. Or morning on your apologies for being late. I needed to go for a checkup.
You have heard the whole thing because we summarized everything now.
Yeah, I'm glad I was able to come just in time. Look, I think the valid in terms of us seeing how tech it does have its hold on us. But then honestly, also jumping on what Aaron shared, I'm actually more from the anyway. How would I say this? There's just sorry a lot of thoughts. Basically, tech has actually allowed me to. I think the algorithm already understood the way that I want things, which is like partnership building, advocacy related work, and so I shape the algorithm in that way. Like in terms of Facebook, in terms of like the things that I search for, I'm able to actually find legit relationships. But of course, it has to be a tool at the end of the day. One thing that actually led me that's why I appreciate this kind of online platforms and even Facebook very much is actually it led me to Ukraine for a while. I volunteered in Ukraine, and that's why it's quite disturbing to me to go to relay in my mind the beautiful moments I've been in Ukraine, and I was only able to do that and because technology, the way that I use it, opened up avenue for me to say, hey, there's this camp experience there for volunteers. Are you interested? So there, I just used it. So
yes. There are a lot of good aspects, but coming to the ultimate question, will it ever begin to define ourselves? Will we lose control of our own self if we are not certainly conscious and take the good effort? And that's a radical question. Is technology going to define humanity, what humans are? Or is there something more than that? I believe that technology is a human creation, and we need to go beyond that. No? When actually computers and algorithms are taking over certain activities we do, no? Especially calculations, rational activities, the whatever intelligence does, no? It's rightly called artificial intelligence, which means no, all the major activities to be done by your intelligence is taken over by computer, and it's much more efficient than many of us. Calculation or those kind of things, data processing, memory, calling, archiving. But I believe that, this is my personal belief, that there is a spiritual dimension which is even superior to it. See, now the current AI, the biggest question is whether computer can have imagination or dream, or only what is programmed. And today we realize that humans are superior to artificial intelligence because humans are capable of imagination, fantasy, creativity, but slowly even artificial intelligence may acquire these qualities. It may start writing fiction. Now it plays chess, but it may soon start writing novels, and I think already there are films made by artificial intelligence. So what is there left to call specifically human? That is my primary question. And that is yourself, something which even beyond this or higher than this. So that's the biggest challenge we may have to. So some others would say, no, that is a spiritual, yes, not one says.
Yeah, I just want you to reflect on, it's not like Yuval Harari is a great author, great book to read.
Yeah.
Very inspiring, very, like you're reading a very knowledgeable person who's kept touch with all the data streams and things. But it's not that he has said the last word in this. I think what you need to keep in mind is there will be more Yuval Hararis coming in the future. You just have to understand who Yuval Harari is. You have to read about him. You have to understand, things we discussed yesterday. You have to understand the context. What is he influence? What are his subtexts? What are the things that he's actually trying to tell us? Is he a child of technology, talking about technology, about the external? Is that really a reflection of how the world has developed? Has he looked at all the multifarious minor things that are going on in the world? He seems to have looked at the dominant, but there's a huge indigenous movement going on talking about different things. That's not captured by him in his works. There is no reflection of that in his work, neither in the UN SDGs. SDG talks about global sustainability, but they hardly have referred to many of the smaller movements, very, very meaningful movements going on. In this context, Harari doesn't even reflect on the nature of the indigenous movement that are becoming very, very vocal. So what Harari's book tells us is he's looking at the dominant trend, he's capturing all that data, and he's telling us this is what's happening. I'm saying that, yes, it is happening, but have you seen, I don't think the computers have now the ability to do that. The whole database, the data streams in society, in nature, has it done? I think computer is still primitive. Whatever level today, it's still primitive. It cannot capture all this data stream and therefore bring it together. It's like our body. Our body is such an interconnected thing. The different systems in the body are working together. And I think science hasn't really understood how it's interconnected and how these things are working together and what disturbs these interconnections and balance. I don't think science is still primitive in that sense. So I only want to make one comment that when you're reading Yuval Harari, please be clear that he has not said the last word. He is speaking from a context. He's a child of certain trends that are happening. He is pointing us to realities that are growing, but he has not captured everything. And there is a context, there is a subtext, there's a voice that is coming up, but in a multi-vocal situation, this is a voice. So just keep that in mind while you are looking at Yuval Harari. And I'll take 1 more minute. This issue about health, which Aaron shared, is again based on the fact of what kind of, yesterday we talked about dietary patterns, the changes in the whole information available on the kind of food we eat and the kind of diseases that are come into being. It is based on that kind of knowledge, information and algorithms. So it is telling us certain things, but there is a lot of way that we can take care of our health even before giving the computer the kind of information that it is getting because of the way we have changed life. So right from the food we eat to the kind of agriculture we do, and many of these things have affected our life, our health, and our healing process. And that is a data that these systems are using. And to say, okay, you have so many chances of getting diabetes. First of all, why did diabetes come into existence when it was not a big problem before the Industrial Revolution? You have to look at that first. Not because, oh, you're going to get diabetes, so you take. That is a resultant situation, not the precondition for understanding your health situation, and therefore suggestion by a computer that you should stop taking sugar. So I think there are a couple of things you need to be clear about reading anybody's book, which are very powerful and very, very influencing. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Nat. That clarifies the thing. That's exactly to where I wanted to come to, because see, these mega narratives themselves are just mega narratives. It's again something like what is happening, a kind of promotion of certain ideologies using the available media. Again, we are not taking into consideration all human dimensions. Humanity is much, much better than all these. I'll just show you 2 slides, the very interesting ones in this connection. Just look at this. Is it on your screen now? Stop this other sharing. I have to share it. Coming. Okay, if it's not possible, I'll just read it out. See, this is what Shakespeare's Hamlet, written in 1603, 400 years ago. There is a very beautiful sentence about man. What a piece of work is man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in form and moving, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like God. This is a very interesting quotation which has always inspired me. The Shakespeare is a very knowledgeable person when it comes to humanity, and I don't know, I tried to share and it's not coming.
You're seeing the screen, Professor. Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
Okay. Only that I didn't see it. See, that's a quotation from, and Shakespeare is actually quoting from the Bible, the Psalm 8:4-2. These are 2 texts, when I think about self and what a human being is, very inspiring things to me. Why I share this is because Nat also told me, we have to be more biographical, this presentation. This is what, when I think about self, these 2 quotes really come to my mind always. See, it was Psalm, it's a book of prayers in the Bible. Psalm number 8, verses 4-8. The author says, this is ancient man's cosmology and idea of self. What is man that you are mindful of him? The son of man that you care for him. You made him a little lower than the heavenly beings. and crowned him with glory and honor. You made him ruler over the works of your hands. You put everything under his feet, all flocks and herds, and the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, and fish of the sea, all that swim in. See, I think no, this is still a valid. This is very much misinterpreted because modern ecologists very often say because man is considered superior to nature, man is exploiting. See, it's a fallacy. Man is exploiting, that's correct, but not because of it's because of a false sense of superiority, like what is happening with the artificial intelligence. No, we think we have a superior technology than the rest of the universe. As Nat said, no, when we are integrated, no, a kind of integral ecology where humans have definitely a kind of higher existence. So that is what we might call the self. Now, do we need a 5 minutes break or just continue till 11:44? Only we are only 50 minutes. So
if you are finishing, Father, just we could finish it up.
Yeah, we'll finish at 11:45. Yeah. Now, I'll share one more slide and then. Now, how do we evaluate ourselves? This is a big question. Where do we pick up, to understand about real self? It's a very interesting thing is something which has always been useful to me in this reflection is think about the needs of human. What are the things humans need? Our needs define us. And to understand yourself, we said this is my hand, this is my head, this is my name, this is my fun, this is my joy. So all feelings, all belongings, whatever I think is my Facebook account, this is my laptop, this is my mobile. So there is a self which needs everything. And the psychologist Maslow has a very beautiful theory about it. Can you see the slide? Okay.
Yes.
So let us look at this slide. It's very, very interesting. We don't have time to go elaborately, but so I have put only just one slide about it. So he says that there are different levels of needs for humans. He classifies it into 7 realms. First is the physiological needs, that is for the food, drink, shelter, etc. Second level is a safety needs, that's for psychological safety and security. Then third level, belongingness and love, affiliation, acceptance, affection. Then comes the fourth level, self-esteem. I want to have a name and fame. See, Facebook and all comes there. And these 4 levels of needs, Maslow calls as a deficiency needs, which means something which I like, and every human being for a development of own self, this should be fulfilled. Or he calls it the basic needs or the deficiency, something which is lacking. If you don't have this, you are lacking something. And today, all our universe, the main struggle is for this, all the human rights issues, people who have no house, no food, the war, no safety, no security, all kinds of exploitations. See, the most of the humanity, despite all artificial intelligence and media and social media, we are still lagging in these areas. Secondly, the media is making use of these basic needs are being exploited by advertisers. What are the things advertised in TV? 90% of it is consumer products. What is needed for a food, drink, sex, and films play on these or a little bit on security or police films or things. And there are, of course, a handful of films which speak about affinity, belongingness, love, affection. Then Maslow says there is a higher level. What makes us really human? All these mostly shared even by animals. Even animals have a sense of self-esteem and a kind of mutual affection, safety, physiological needs. What makes us distinctly human or the real self we are talking about the real self, he tells the higher levels, three other things. Cognitive needs, which is need for knowledge, symmetry, order. Aesthetic needs, goodness, truth, beauty, and justice. And then finally, self-actualization. He calls it the growth needs or the meta needs. So if you ask about the real self is when all these 7 levels are complete. And I find personally that, many people use the social media only at these levels of the deficiency needs. And everyone wants to be famous, everyone wants to show himself, everyone wants to get admiration. So all those needs are basically very well met in the social media. And many use only for that. Of course, no doubt everyone is using that way. But if you go to higher and higher levels, then the life becomes all the more. So from the needs of each person, we can very, very much understand what is the meaning of self. So when to answer what is the real self, for me, this is one of the best ways of looking at it, this hierarchy of needs. So only when finally the most important thing is, see, when Maslow made his theory first, he had only 7 levels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7th level was self-actualization, my self-fulfillment, personal growth. That's what all psychology, self-help books, everything is telling, how to be a better human person. But afterwards, when he grew much more in his knowledge and wisdom, he said, no, there is also an 8th level. That's what really makes us human. And he called it the transcendence level. And transcendence comes when you help others to self-actualize. So from a very humanly perspective, your highest level of yourself is when you actualize yourself. That's what self-help books say. Success means, esteem means, all the majority of the discussions. But the later Maslow said, no. To be truly human, our real, genuine self means you have to transcend all these. And at that stage, we are able to help others self-actualize. So I think the whole process of this multiversity, which Nath is saying, and the points he made here about artificial intelligence, all saying that, see, only when we go beyond our own self and see others as self with all the same kind of needs, and we begin to collaborate and approach the universe and others in this sense, that's where we really begin to realize ourselves. So the real self is going beyond all these needs. That's a very insight. It has been a very, very interesting insight for me. That gives a lot of meaning to why people help each other, even in a war. When your own life is in danger, still you go to help a friend. That is the highest human expression. It's not a rational calculation or anything, but going beyond that, there is something, the inner core of human existence, no? So here, as I think Hov mentioned, no? We like that the self-interiority. We don't look into ourselves, no time. We are busy with all other needs, meeting all the basic needs. And this diagram, he put it as a pyramid because, see, the basic needs are much larger. And without meeting these basic needs, the other higher needs cannot be met. So this is a beautiful indication to understand how we can curate ourselves into a real self. Then I'll show you one more picture. I'll send you a copy, maybe. We have only 5 minutes. This is another thing in this relation I would suggest. There is an interesting book, David R. Hawkins, The Map of Consciousness. And this is, again, as we spoke about Harari, Harari is not the last word or the absolute thing, only indication of things. The same way this book, I am not saying as a solution to everything. This has some good indication for us, a good hint for us. I don't agree with much of what he says, but this indication, his map, his diagram is very helpful. Yes, he says that the map of consciousness based on logarithmic scale that spans 0 to 1,000. He speaks about the names, energy level as emotion. That is a very interesting suggestion. He says that the worst human emotion level is shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride. And he says courage. It is above that, if your score is above 200, and at least only at neutrality someone really begins to be a human being or a self that is worthy of being a human. Then willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace, and enlightenment. This schema is actually very, very interesting. A good indication of who we are and how to.
Levels of human consciousness by David R. Hawkins. Visible light encompasses the color red, lowest frequency, to violet, highest frequency color, as is the result.
He's using a color code that is
found below yellow. This includes desire, anger, and pride. Yellow up to violet includes more positive levels such as acceptance, reason, and love. Violet is the highest frequency reached by the average human being. The ultraviolet range is extremely rare, as there is presently only 600 people who are at the lavender frequency. There's even a smaller group of people at the white light level. There are 29 individuals at 700, 11 at 800, and 6 over 900. Any level of consciousness below yellow is detrimental to life, whereas levels of consciousness above yellow support life. Another way of looking at the different levels of consciousness is the percentage of white light in each color. At courage 200, there's 20% of white light. At love 500, there's 50%. And at 1000, it is 100%. Enlightenment is when consciousness is infused with intense white light. 85% of the world population functions below the level of courage. 11% function from courage to love. Almost 4% are between love and unconditional love, and about 650 individuals live near or in an enlightened state. The average level of human consciousness of the entire world population is 207, therefore barely above the courage level. Although we share the same physical space, people experience life from different dimensions. The third dimension is from red to green, the fourth from green to indigo, the fifth is violet, the sixth is lavender, and white includes the 7th to 10th dimensions.
So this
is an animated diagram.
Not that I just take everything it tells, but it's a very good indication. What is the feeling or what is the sense of happiness which each human beings feel? That's what defines, or that is a mirror of actually our real self. And we know we always, as humans, we value higher, we call it higher values. No, there's a great lower values, higher values. The higher you go, the higher the need. So for me personally, to evaluate a self, whether it is authentic self or a real self, we look at these two things. One, our needs. What are the most dominant felt need of each one of us? That tells us where we are and how much more we need to go. You can use the same criterion to evaluate media. Now, what is being populated in the media? To evaluate a film, you can use what is the dominant emotion that film creates. So we have to go much beyond Harari, even the algorithms and intelligence. No, the humans are much more than that. But very often we get limited because of what is being told to us in the mainline media, the dominant views. So let us start with our own self. Introspection, going inside, finding more time, silence. Then our selves are created in such a way that it can speak for itself. And the knowledge, wisdom will arise, and we'll be able to better process all the information that is bombarding us and curate our own self in a very, very human way. So I think I'll stop with this, and if you have any questions or clarifications or suggestions, I can take it, or we can conclude. It's 11:45, little past 11:45. So Nat said he has another meeting, so we need to end up. So thank you very much for your patient listening, and I think I have been talking a little too much, but I am glad you also talked in between. So I hope the question of how we can create our own self in the right way towards the real self, you got some ideas and some indications which we can follow up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. and Professor Jose. It was really powerful and interesting also. And also, I think we will only take 2 questions from our fellows.
Yeah.
Some concerns. So, and also we're running out of time. So, yeah. Anyone? Jen, still looking for the questions?
If you don't have a question today,
yeah, it's fine also.
You can contact me even later, send me email or post a question to me even later. I'll be available, no problems.
Yeah. Yes, I think Professor Jose will anytime come back. Of course, we'll inform him. But if there are things that you want to talk up on this issue, you can write to him directly, or you can we can have another session sometime. When you are really up to, talking with him or sharing with him. They will be having a blog. They are going to be submitting their blogs. So maybe if there is some reflection on your sharing, Jose, I will send it to you.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
So that would be something which we will look forward. So thank you so much for the thank you for taking us through in a very systematic way the different parts of the self in the digital world. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to I have usually spent 5 minutes after these discussions. So I think now you can, release yourself, go and rest.
Thank you very much.
And be connected with your real self.
Thank you, doctor.
All of us
Thank you, Father.
We can reflect on those things, and God bless you. Very enjoyable time, good learning experience. Thank you very much.
Okay. So we are nearly at the end of this first month session. Tomorrow I will just probably I hope to just spend 1 hour and another hour on your preparatory steps for March. So I hope you will be there, because I will take you through what's going to happen in March, at least the first 15 or 16 days. But before that, I will just share my portion of this, discussion that has been going on with this idea of stories. So, one thing I'd like you to think about before coming in tomorrow is, if you can think, what are the story or stories that has or have guided you all this while from your conscious, from your teenager self to this working period now that you're, what are the stories that have guided you? What are the stories you live by? What are the stories you have been told and that you follow or you don't follow? But really about what is this that is guiding you through this life that you been living, So just reflect on the kind of stories that you have lived by, and we will start with that sharing of the stories you have lived by. And please, in your sharing, let it be your sharing. I would like less reference to a book or a film or things like that. Just share your own thing. you may want to say that I got this idea from here, I got from there. Yes, that's so all the things. Okay, so think about that, and we will start with the session with that, and then I will try to complete it fast before we go into the preparation for March. It's a bit of things to share with you. I will do that. And the second thing, of course, please keep working on the connecting the dots. There are a lot of